Welcome to the Cincy Postcast, powered by Gold Star, Cincinnati's favorite match day meal. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, the best damn brewery in the city. That's right. Putting my foot down. There you go. There's the claim. Located in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood over on the east side of Cincinnati, they have a beer for everyone. I promise you, they have a wide variety. One of the widest varieties of beers that you will find anywhere, all made by the same brewery, Streetside. They do a really, really good job there. The brewery is an awesome place to go check out. They've always got food from a food truck out there as well. It's a really good time. And one of my favorite things about Streetside, there's always an event going on. So on December 17th, gotta call this one out for you. There is a snow globe workshop for $30 a person. You too can actually go and make your own snow globe. They promise no crafting experience needed. Look, you need a last second homemade gift. Here you go. You've been gifted a gift for somebody else. So snow globe workshop on the 17th, starts at 6 p.m. Go check them out. Streetside Brewery, great folks. When you're there, maybe mention the postcast, get a buck off of your beer when you're there. But otherwise, enjoy the lovely beer, enjoy the atmosphere, and maybe use the code. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. And on this episode, oh boy, you'd think a mid-December episode, there'd be nothing to talk about, and yet there is so much to talk about. Massive trade. Chido, Murphy, gone? For how much? What is going on over there? What is Albright cooking up? We went from having a very crowded center back room to a not so crowded center back room. What's the latest with Barreal? And there's an expansion draft. Well, there was an expansion draft by the time you heard this. But the protected list, did it indicate anything that may be going on? And then there was a CCL draw. There's a whole new tournament starting up in like 2 months. Less than 2 months. So what does the field look like there? We ask a couple of really good Patreon questions. You put it all together. You have yourselves a very busy postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I've got two gentlemen here that never mind. I abandoned what I was going to say, which is that they would also go back to college for their second wives, joined by the chief, joined by Grayson. Bill Belichick is the new head coach of UNC Tar Heels.
All right, hold on. I think it's important. That's good. We should talk about it.
Okay,
but I did get a note that Kevin always asks one of us how we're doing, but nobody asks Kevin how he's doing. And I do want to make a point to say, note taken, appreciate it, and fair. So Kevin.
I wouldn't have asked me. I just would have acknowledged that it's a good note and then moved on.
That's where I thought we were going with this. It's just like point taken, but we're not going to change what we're doing because the formula works at this point.
I do want to know how Kevin's doing.
Kevin's doing okay. Kevin's surviving the holiday season with a large family and 2 little kids. It's there's a lot of pressure on getting Christmas correct, and every day we are not doing something explicitly in your face Christmas, I feel like I'm letting the kids down. So
what's your tree situation?
So the tree went up the day after Thanksgiving.
Did you tell the kids that, like, we can't put it up yet because we're not one of those families? Like, it has to wait until after Thanksgiving?
Literally.
Is it a real tree or is it a fake tree?
I have dabbled in both worlds in the past. We have a fake tree.
Okay.
So we've gone fake tree. It is a new fake tree this year because, and this drives me insane, I hate a pre-lit tree. We have a pre-lit tree. We had a pre-lit tree before. The pre-lit tree dies. I'm not going to hang lights on a dead pre-lit tree.
A pre-lit tree just becomes what you want then at that point. If it dies, like, congratulations, you now get the tree you want because the lights have died on it. It's a feature, not a bug.
Right. But then there's like way too many bulbs on there. It's bad. I think in the abstract, I would love a real tree. That is nice. So
I look, I'm partial to a real tree. I do understand it's a hassle. It's not economical. Yes. There's a lot of annoyances that come with a real tree. Nevertheless, I do a real tree every year, and every year I'm like, why do I do this? And then I get it home and I'm like, this is why I do this. This is nice.
Yeah. And then it comes afterwards where the needles are all on the floor.
Yeah,
and you have to take it down because it's like shedding everywhere.
Yeah. And you learn quickly, like the types of, so one year I went, the very first year we ever did, because I was a fake tree household growing up.
Yeah, same.
So I did not have a real tree until I was in adulthood. And the very first year that we had we decided to do a real tree, we went out to a farm in Goshen. And it was like one of those, it's a cut your own tree down farm.
Nice. Yeah.
We went a little late in the season. It was very picked over. So the only types of pines with the right kind of needles, because you need the short needles, not like the big, not like the really long, like fluffy neadles, right?
Yeah.
So the only types of pines with the short needles were the ones that like cut your arms up.
Yeah.
So I used the saw, cut the tree down, pulled my arm out, and it was just like elbow to wrist, just cut up, right? Like I'm listening to Dashboard Confessional over here. Like it was not good. And the thing is, like, well, now I gotta like move the tree. So then I'm just grabbing the dagger needles with my hand to get it on the car and then get it up my stairs to the room where the tree goes. But ever since then, it's been like a much more less dramatic affair. But the even if you don't do the real tree, I do feel like putting the leaves on or putting the lights on is like an important thing.
Yes.
Especially like for you as a man.
I would prefer
for anyone. I think it's just part of getting in part of the holiday spirit is putting the lights on, trimming the tree, as it were.
Yes.
People talk about like crises of masculinity, and I do feel like
a pre-lit tree.
A pre-lit tree is like one of the reasons like men may feel left behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's only so many things you can do as a man and be like, yeah, I serve a purpose.
Right.
And those things dwindle the older you get.
Putting
lights on a tree to the extent where there's like an appropriate depth and brightness.
Yes.
Right. Where you're like wrapping in and out. Like that's a thing that you're like, yes, I'm a man.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree and disagree at the same time. If you're getting a real Christmas tree, like
you're very tall, so you get
yes. No,
this is not an effort for you.
But no. But where I think you can have the pre-lit tree and still have that same experience is in the proper fluffing of the branches of the artificial tree.
I do care deeply about that.
It's even with the tree is pre-lit, making sure that you don't have there's a dead spot here or this spot you can see straight through. We've got to fluff the branches. You got to bend them back out. That is where you truly shine as the head of household, I will say, in making sure that the tree is properly fluffed to where you stand back and look at it and go, yeah, that looks almost real. The goal of the artificial tree is to make it look as real as possible. And even if it's pre-lit, that idea of getting it looking just so, I think is,
yes,
even on the pre-lit, I think that's an activity that really does, this is why people painted on cave walls, that sort of thing.
Yes. Now, two things with that. One, weirdly hard to find an artificial, not pre-lit tree. it's like, that's a rare breed out there. They figured if you're going fake, you're going all the way fake. But then the other one, question for you, Grayson, where you procure your Christmas tree, do they vibrate the tree for you before you take it into the car? That is my favorite thing.
The place we go every year, they do put it through the tree massager. The tree comes in real loose. They put some netting over it.
Just, ready to throw a couple touchdowns for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh no.
They put some. I'm gonna just
blow right by that one.
Run the ball straight through that one. They put the netting on it, and then a couple of high school boys tie the laziest strings around it you've ever seen in your life. And then I pull out the ratchet straps.
Nice.
And finish the job. And then we get it back. Get it back.
Now, did you ever at any point growing up have the actual live tree? Because we did that a couple of times as a kid growing up, where you got the tree that you could actually plant in the backyard. And when I was growing up, we had several Christmas trees that ended up in the backyard that we took out and we planted out back.
Never even thought of that.
It was pretty cool, except for the fact that, like, hearing my dad cursing up a storm, trying to lug, because like the base of the tree where the roots are is still really heavy. And then you realize you have to get that out in the dead of winter and get it out and get it planted. And so trying to dig a hole to plant your tree in like a frozen ground with this damn thing going outside. It's such a better idea in theory than it actually ends up being in practice every single time.
I'd be so annoyed and be tempted to like dig it back up the next year to bring
just
it back.
Keep reusing it over and over again.
Yeah, no.
It can't be good for the tree.
Kevin, what's your train situation?
We are going. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Two things. One, we don't do a train under the tree. We've got 2 dogs and a cat. So we actually have a fence around our tree to keep the animals away from it. It's not a very tall fence and it's festive looking. So it blends in, but
par for the course with the new administration coming in. So
build the fence.
The dogs weirdly did not pay for the fence. I was on the hook for that one. No, actually, where my mind went when you asked the question, Grayson, is for the first time.
Tell me where your mind went.
Yes.
Right.
I'm a little concerned now.
Right. We get the neighbors together. Everybody throws their keys in the bowl. It's what were you talking about?
No, it's sort of the opposite of that. We paid for like we bought tickets for a like a winter train ride up in like Warren County's thing. I've never done it, but people speak highly of it. The tickets were apparently hard to get, so excited to do that one this year. Again, no wasted days. Yes. On
your Christmas tree, are you team, I want a traditional looking tree with the like colored ornaments, like the balls and the candy baubles, if you will, yeah? Or are you team like, let's throw all the Hallmark ornaments on here that are like random things like Santas and maybe even some non-Christmas things, like you have the collectible, like the Star Trek collection of ornaments as well? So we have a tradition in my family that we've carried on through in my marriage and with our kids now. We always got an ornament every year as like a gift. So there's like a different special ornament that sort of tries to tie in some way, shape, or form to like what was going on in your life, in the world at that time to you. And then we've also made it a point of getting an ornament like anytime we go on a trip or on a vacation or something, or we get something that we can turn into an ornament is another thing. And so now the tree has become just I don't know, like a very personalized history of our family type thing. So every little piece on it has some sort of meaning or some sort of story behind it. And it does not look classical. In fact, we've made it a point this year, Chief, this is the first year we had no generic ornaments on the tree. So we cleared the hurdle, because we've certainly had seat filler ornaments in years past to help fill it out. I think we've finally cleared that bar.
We keep like a minimal base layer of like kind of nice decorative ornaments, but the majority of it is meaningful in some way, whether it's a gift or it's from a place that we visited, or it has to do with something, specific.
So to that end, Grayson and Kevin, what is your favorite ornament that is on your tree then?
So my favorite one is a Bengals sled ornament that I kept trying to put on my family's tree when I was a kid that my mom hated. And it is broken in a couple of pieces where it had accidentally fallen off the tree a couple of times. I finally inherited that one. It hangs out on the back of the tree. Nobody can see it, but it just represents.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just for me there.
Yeah. Grayson.
So we have these like, it's hard to say like a favorite, but where my mind immediately goes to is we have this like corn husk Holy Family ornament from my wife's home country. That it's like kind of a traditional figures that are made. We have like other Christmas decorations that are like made this same way that aren't ornaments. So that's where my mind immediately goes. We got a couple of Rookwood ornaments that I think are real nice. Like we got this Rookwood cardinal that I just think it's real classy.
Nice.
And the one I was laughing a moment ago, because we have this like wooden nativity one that my parents gave us, and I always laugh when I look at that one because like we got it and my dad just kept saying like, oh, this is made by Christians in the Holy Land, and he just kept saying that, and I'm like,
such a dad thing to say.
I'm like, oh, okay, wait where?
Northern Kentucky, the Holy Land.
Yeah, right. Missouri,
Ogden, Utah.
Yeah. You really need to specify which Christians we're talking about right here.
You're talking about which Christians, which Holy Land.
Right.
How are they doing today?
Right.
Yeah.
Can we call them?
Don't worry about where those Christians are or what political state they might identify with.
We have a very, very, my wife loves hedgehogs for some reason. I don't know why. It's a thing. Not even a Sonic fan. Just,
I guess. Sure. No, Sonic's like kind of a ugly, ridiculous hedgehog.
Right.
Like definitely less pretty or less cute than a normal hedgehog.
Like a normal hedgehog, really, really an adorable little animal.
Yes,
Sonic, just, he's fast, I guess. There's way too many
eyeball.
of them.
Yeah.
But we have this like pine cone hedgehog ornament that's really, really cool that she picked up somewhere along the way. My favorite ornament, though, much like in Kevin's setup, is that I have from when I was a little kid, somebody bought me. It's very old. It's from like the 1980s. I say very old. It is a bear wearing an original Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform, like the orange uniforms with a helmet on. And it is so out of place on a Christmas tree. And again, it lives near the back, somewhat up high so that I can see it. And it brings me joy every time I look at it.
In the spirit of ridiculous ornaments, this year, my son, who's 4 years old, got to pick out an ornament for himself. And he picked out, I don't know how or why this was a thing. He has a shark astronaut that has Christmas lights around its neck hanging on the tree. That is his ornament, a shark astronaut. He gets a kick out of it and laughs every time he sees it.
I bought it was an impulse buy when I was at the register, but I have an ornament from the Quatman Cafe in Norwood that hangs on our Christmas tree.
That's great.
Best $7 I've ever spent in my life.
I want to be clear about the ornament that's made by Christians from the Holy Land.
Please.
It's a nice bit of craftsmanship.
Oh, okay.
Like
good.
it's a very handsome ornort. And like I'm not
divinely inspired even.
Right. I'm not saying I want to give it up or that I don't appreciate it.
Good.
I just think it's just the explanation makes me chuckle.
Made by Christians in the Holy Land.
Well, as if that was like you needed another selling point for this ornament. Oh, that's really neat. Oh, you don't know the half of it. Let me tell you where this thing comes from.
Well, they were made by Christians in like
sweatshop
30
in China.
AD. Like, they're probably made by a company.
Yeah, right.
Right. You can take solace in the fact that was also the same rationale for a lot of the souvenirs that got brought back from the Crusades as well. This is an actual piece of the Holy Cross right here, believe it or not.
Yes. Tiny little scraps of wood. Gosh, gentlemen, I believe that is enough dawdling on an episode that this late in December is weirdly chock full of things to talk about.
I would note that we didn't answer your question, and the answer is it's profoundly funny that Bill Belichick is coaching at UNC.
Yeah, right.
Dozens of Bengals fans' dreams dashed.
Me chief amongst them. The moment it looked like this season was getting away from us, I'm looking at Bill Belichick on the TV broadcast going, You got Tom Brady 2.0 and a decent receiver this time. Make it happen.
You know who's on the market? You know who is available? Gruden.
Let the groomers begin, baby.
Wait, no, can we not call them that?
No, I think he took the job with North Carolina.
I was going to note, on that note, now that we're going to go there.
Please.
Is it possible to have a second midlife crisis in your 70s where you start dating someone that's like 22 and then go back to hang out on a college campus?
Maybe he's like learned how to talk to I don't want to say kids, but
no, you could say kids. It's very accurate.
And we'll be recruiting high school kids, literally. So yeah, there you go.
Like, I think his girlfriend that he's dating now was an infant when Tom Brady started playing football.
Best not to think about these things.
Yeah, professionally.
Yeah, professionally.
Don't worry about when his college career started.
Yeah. Tom Brady's college career is older than Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
It's problematic. I'll
you know
say.
What they say? Half your age divided by 7.
And then another half.
I was going to say, I don't think he passes that test.
As long as you say divided by 7, it's all right.
Oh, divided by 7.
You know who that means the Bengals need to go after in the offseason?
Double your age divided by 7 is basically where he's at.
There is an answer, Bengals fans, if you want something to look forward to. He's available. And under his tutelage, Joe Burrow was his most successful version of himself.
Don't you dare say Coach O.
Coach O, baby. Bring Coach O to Cincinnati. We're bringing the Bayou to the Ohio River.
Honestly, the chaotic energy would be worth it.
Ryan Day will be available.
He would love it.
Actually, I think Coach O is my answer for Ohio State too. Yeah. Coach OH.
It's right there in the name. I mean,
no, it's all right. Ryan Day is going to get fired. But you know what you guys can take solace in, and that's the fact that we have an Ohio legislature that has decided that they are going to fight back against unlawful flag planting. So I know that you're very upset about what happened to you after the Michigan game. Fear not, our General Assembly is there to help to prevent any of these flags from ever being planted in artificial turf ever again.
Chief, I was thinking about this. Depending on how this language is worded, a certain indiscretion of mine back in 2017 may be a felony now. Throwing a flag onto the baseball field may qualify.
No ex post
facto. I was going to say ex post facto and statute of limitations, baby.
Oh no,
you are golden.
Yeah, no, we're good there. I'm just thinking it's amusing to think that what that could have been would now be a felony. Yeah. We can't reenact it, basically.
Yeah.
Damn. Sad. So there's your football update. Yeah.
Like, I just appreciate, all that the state assembly has already done for us. That they're able to just kind of like tie this little bow and now we'll be a perfect state.
Yeah. Next episode we're going to do for asking Kevin how he's doing is, Kevin, what is your favorite thing that the General Assembly in the state of Ohio has done for you in the last, we'll say, 3 to 4 legislative sessions?
Enrich themselves with what I think was nuclear power money. That whole controversy was very vague to me. I was not keeping track.
It is. I do think that controversy is a little impenetrable for the state population as a whole.
Yes.
And that's a problem because way more people should be in prison, including, like, if you arrested everybody with like a statewide elected position, you'd have a pretty good batting average. You'd make the all-star game of like appropriately like arresting criminals.
If you just arrested everyone and just was like, how many of these are we actually successfully able to convict? Yeah, I'm thinking Cooperstown numbers probably.
Yeah, you wouldn't be hurting some people's averages.
Well, think about that. We're going to ask that question next time. Kevin, we have so much to talk about with FC Cincinnati. I can't believe you've let us dawdle this long on nonsense. How dare you? Look, I guess the best way to frame this is, how hard should we be patting ourselves on the back for, if you go back and listen to the postcast from this past Monday, usually our content is incredibly dated whenever the team breaks news on a Monday. In our case, I think we had this. I think we had this situation read pretty well in terms of how the half-day trade window was going to go for FC Cincinnati. Maybe not the exact names involved, and maybe
or the
how it ended up, or the team involved, but the idea of, look, this team has a numbers problem and a GAM problem and a protection problem, and you can start to solve some of those and make the expansion draft that we're sitting here stalling for time until it happens. You can make that a lot less interesting if you get your business done during the half-day trade window. And I think we were right on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chidozie Awaziem and Ian Murphy traded to the Colorado Rapids for an amount of money that looks to be about $1 million in GAM, with the potential escalator of about 200,000 GAM if certain performance metrics are met. It is,
and there's a sell on and trade on.
Yes.
So if they are sold abroad or traded within the league for GAM, we get some unspecified amount of that. So it could be anywhere from $1 million in GAM to $10 million in GAM.
Hundreds of millions even. Who knows?
Who knows?
Awaziem goes on to be the first $200 million center back sold to Real Madrid.
And baby, we're getting a piece of that. We're wetting the beak.
It would certainly make Albright look like a moron, but that would be fun.
Yeah. In Indy 11, when they join MLS, trade $5 million in GAM for Ian Murphy.
Yes. He's a league, star player of the league, a face of the league. It's a funny one because, Chief, on one hand, absolutely, you're correct. We knew that this team had too many starting center backs in the center back room, and it made a lot of sense for at least one person, maybe two, to either be traded or, as we had talked about, Ian Murphy seemed like a pretty solid expansion draft pick if he was left unprotected, which is why you may actually go out and try to deal him to San Diego ahead of time, or to not San Diego in this case, which also helped free up the issue of who do you protect, which we had a good conversation on. The other side of this is we've seen very good center backs in this league by themselves go for 6 or 7 or 800,000 in GAM, and this was 2 now different quality center backs, but I will listen to the people who say that this was not enough in return. What would you say, Grayson?
I would say it is hard. It is hard to judge it. Like, so vibes wise, it doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel.
But the thing you have to remember is that any team taking like Awaziem, for example, is getting a guy who's on like 1.2 plus $1 million in salary. So they are going to have to account for his salary. And Ian Murphy, while he's a cheap player, is no longer on a supplemental deal. So a team needs to be able and willing to carry him on their senior roster. Which I think makes a non-trivial difference, but maybe not a huge difference in Murphy's specific case. I tried to find like good comparators, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Dave Romney was traded to New England last year for like $500,000 in GAM. He's on a cheaper deal. He's not as good as Awaziem,
right?
But he's like, I don't know, like a third.
He's a domestic too, isn't he?
He's a domestic and on like a quarter to a third of salary. So like those types of things would increase the GAM trade value. Part of this is that MLS doesn't maintain like a database per se that you can easily find like all of the GAM trades. And also because GAM trades are not like one for one, like transfer equivalents, because GAM is money you can use to expand your salary cap essentially. Yeah. So it's worth in league more than just straight up dollars.
Right.
Yeah. So players that would go for like a $5 million transfer fee are going to be a much smaller GAM trade.
Yeah.
Not that either of these guys would go for a $5 million transfer fee.
No, but you could absolutely see a world where Ian Murphy was transferred to a second division Spanish club for $1 million. Like
sure.
That feels normal.
Sure. But then that goes down to like $250,000 in GAM or something.
Right.
And the other trade that happened today was Reyes from Red Bulls to San Diego. We don't have, I think, as of time of recording, I don't think we have the official numbers on that, but the Tom Bogert reporting was that it was a package for $750, but a package at $750 can be a lot of things. It can be like a mixture of GAM this year and GAM next year. It could be like $300,000 in guaranteed GAM and $400,000 or $450,000 in, conditional or incentive GAM, which, so if you're going to say like that's a package of $750, our package is north of 1.2.
Right.
Because we have the 200,000 in contingent and the potential share of any future sell on or trade, which like I wouldn't really be surprised if Murphy in particular is traded again within the league.
Absolutely.
And if that means some more GAM is coming our way, like that's a good deal. Yeah. Real
quick, I think it's Grayson.
Go ahead.
I have Tom Bogert's feed up. He updates the details on the deal in a very confusing way. He says, "Quick update. I believe the fee here is 800,000 GAM." I'm going to assume he's just mixing his words here, and that fee is supposed to be total package. But
yeah, I would assume that.
If
I guess
the fee is 800, that does change the conversation a little bit.
I don't know that it does though.
Okay.
Because here's the deal is that they made this trade. New York made this trade after the half-day trade window had elapsed. So this trade is not effective until January. The January window opens again when they can start to move rosters again. And it's to San Diego. So you're not part of the reason why this deal is the way it is that you had this little window and this window only to make this move before what happened that we talked about on the Sunday episode or the Monday episode, where if you don't make a deal right now, someone is available on this roster, a good player is available on this roster for selection for $50,000 in GAM.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're almost, and there was no way to make any deal prior to this after the August transfer window closed for MLS, or the summer transfer window closed for MLS. So there was no way to offload an extra center back in the playoffs or after they were eliminated. It was this one shot to get their roster down to a size where they have the ability to protect all the players they want. So by virtue of, if there wasn't an expansion draft, I think you probably get more money, and you can wait to shop this deal around, and you can wait to make this deal later in the winter or in January.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, they've got to make this deal before the expansion draft in order to maximize the value they're getting in terms of protecting the value in terms of players that they have available for selection. So could they have gotten more money for this? Yeah, but the timing makes it such,
maybe not.
Maybe not. Like that's sort of the crux of the issue right here. And it got them compliant in terms of now the protection is really, really easy. There isn't anyone that jumps out to you on their unprotected list as, oh, this person is likely to get picked. And we went from a situation where I think all of us in this group, we were all pretty certain someone from FC Cincinnati was going to get picked in the expansion draft. If they don't make a move, somebody good was going to be left unprotected. Now they don't have to worry about that. They took that out of San Diego's hands, and instead of losing Ian Murphy for $50,000 and hoping that they could find someone to take Awaziem for $1 million, they got their $1 million right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably a good way to think about it. I keep coming. Yeah, please go for it.
I was gonna say, like, it is reasonable to ask, like, why did they end up in a position that they needed to?
This is where I was
dump
going.
a player.
Yes.
Why was Awaziem the player that was dumped versus, Robinson or Hadebe or even Miazga? Like, what's the process? Is it a combination of like how you rate the various center backs? Is it the fact that, we feel like we need to keep Hadebe because he's like our left-footed stud? Is it this is just the guy with the biggest market? I find that a little hard to believe that there wouldn't be like a big market for Miles Robinson in particular.
Yeah.
But I think those are all like specific questions that we would all love to know the answer to. You're not going to get the answer to most of those because of how business is done.
Yeah.
But I think conceptually, like, Chief has nailed it, that they had too many players going into the expansion draft. They had a budget situation. The only way to maximize the return you get on your quote unquote excess players is to do a deal in the half-day window. We did a deal from a position of depth to get good value. And then now we don't have to really worry about losing somebody that we want to keep in the expansion draft. So, like, it is ultimately, I think I'm on the side of it's a good bit of business.
Yeah.
I, have questions in the details.
Yes.
One of those questions is like, if our budget is so bad, why is Sergio Santos's option, picked up? Maybe that was an automatic option, because of games played or something, right?
Wouldn't mind that being leaked to Tom Bogert.
That wouldn't be the worst thing that wouldn't be the worst thing to push out through friendly media. But, it is ultimately, it is what it is. We did say, I think, that the ideal move was to lighten the center back room in the half day window ahead of the expansion draft. they did that. So I don't think we can be too mad about it. Yeah. Even though my immediate reaction on Blue Sky, because I'm not on Twitter anymore, was that we were fleeced. And I'm not going to delete it. But
never delete a take. Yeah. Never delete a take. But, that's a coward's way out.
I could. It's very easy to build the justification for why this was a really good move. And so I would be very easily persuaded, given like kind of a couple quick pieces of information.
Yeah.
That it was a great move. And, you know, ultimately, and this is also where I landed on Blue Sky, is that there might be stuff that happens that you don't expect or you don't like. There will probably be other things that happen that you do like. And right. It is an entire window. And what we want to judge it on is how the window ends, not in a specific move in a vacuum. And I will say, like, this is undeniably a move that sets you up to have a really nice window.
Yes.
I don't know that I would go that far.
Ooh.
And this is the reason why. Is look, so let me talk to you out there if you're someone that didn't like this move. Let me talk directly to this.
Oh, no,
there were a lot of people
I'm
out
right
there.
Here. No.
All right. There were a lot of people that didn't like this move. So there's a couple of things that I would say to anyone that didn't like this move. Number one, your like or dislike of this move is probably in large part colored by what your ranking is of the center backs in the center back room. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, we found Chido's play very, very good. Eye-opening. I think that he is a fringe candidate for MLS Defender of the Year in the right circumstance. I think he's got that kind of talent.
I agree.
Having said that, not everyone shares that assessment.
Right.
There are a number of people, MLS pundits included, and I think they were talking about this on Extra Time in the most recent episode, that do not rate Chidozie Awaziem as high as we do. A lot of us do. Number two, I think a lot of people that don't like this deal, and if you're one of these people that don't like this deal because you think Miles Robinson isn't worth what he's being paid for this team, or that Miles Robinson had an underwhelming year. First off, ask yourself, do you really think Miles Robinson didn't play well? Or is this born out of frustration that Miles Robinson wasn't here for an extended amount of time last year? And look, that sucks. But the reality of the situation is, in the markets MLS travels in, and the player pool they pick from, it is just a fact of life that you're going to end up getting players that play for national team and have extended national team responsibilities. This year was a weird year because of the Olympics. It is unlikely to ever be repeated for a player like Robinson, where he is the overage call up to this additional tournament on top of a summer tournament like the Gold Cup. Right. I get that it was frustrating in the abstract, but lots of teams deal with national team unavailability. And I would rather have players that are good enough to make their national team than try and thread the needle of finding players that are from countries that have national teams that are of such quality that a player can be a good MLS player, but not good enough to play on an individual national team. That is a real hard needle to thread.
To piggyback on that, Awaziem and Hadebe both play for their national team in Africa. And given the change in leadership with the U.S. men's national team, and given where we saw Matt Miazga previously, not impossible that Matt Miazga plays his way back into the national team picture himself. So, yes, if that was a complaint of yours, it's applicable to all the other guys.
Right. So,
yeah, but those guys weren't missing summer competitions. They weren't missing extended time with their national team.
Yeah,
because of when their national teams play in the summer. That's true yet. But also, I think I'm kind of in both camps, because he does, because you talk about like tight budgets, right? Well, that that hurts your ability to have depth at the center back spot, especially when you play 3. And right now we have 3 rostered.
Yeah, I keep forgetting they haven't signed Haglund. I just sort of assume he's there. Yeah,
Robinson was. I'm not saying he was bad, but it seemed like when he was the only good one, the defense was really bad. Like, Miazga and Awaziem both had games where they were essentially the only good center back that was fielded. Miazga really more like the previous year. And the defense did fine. But when Robinson was the only center back, I feel like the defense felt very, very rocky. But I am still like very, very happy that Miles Robinson is on the team. I do think though that since you had like Awaziem under contract for next year with 2 options, and Miles is on the under contract for next season with no options. I think that you have put yourself in a position where you kind of need to sign him to an extension,
which I expect to happen based on the way Albright.
I agree, but they kind of have to sign him to an extension because otherwise you've just created yourself an unnecessarily hole to fill at center back next year.
Sure. Yeah. Now, the other thing too that to remember about this situation as well is I ask you also, if you're not happy with this deal, to remember the method by which Awaziem came to FC Cincinnati. He only came to this team, and they said they'd been scouting him for a long time. Spoiler alert, every player we sign, they say they've been scouting for a long time. They're scouting a lot of players right now that they have been scouting for years. And when they sign them, they will say, we have been scouting this player for a long time. So don't get that part twisted.
I don't know that they said that about Joe Aquini. I could be wrong.
I don't think they did. Yeah,
they didn't. And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
All right. So
we just heard of him yesterday.
Right. We Googled quickly Americans that look like they would be available, and ChatGPT spit this out. The only reason Awaziem is on this team is because Miazga went on season-ending injury, and they did a like-for-like salary sign with his salary spot. And so, no matter what they said about what their plan was, there wasn't a reality where you were going to be able to fit both those salaries under the budget when it was quite literally a fill-in salary spot that he was able to occupy. And that sort of leads to sort of the bigger picture about all this. And that's that there was a good article today about where FC Cincinnati's salary situation is and where its cap situation is. We need, and this is where Grayson said, I think this leads to bigger things in the window. I wouldn't be so certain about that because we have been spoiled in this fan base to a large extent by when we have a problem on the roster, Albright goes out and buys a player to fix it. We needed a replacement for Junior Moreno. He went out and he bought Pavel Buka and paid a transfer fee for him. We need a replacement for Alvaro Barreal. He went out and bought a replacement in Luca Orishano. He got the first year cheap under the loan agreement, but now there's a transfer fee with that. Chidozie, there's a transfer fee with that. That isn't a sustainable way to build an MLS roster under the current budget restrictions, unless you are a wizard in terms of churning your roster and signing or selling players abroad and maximizing your GAM conversion on a yearly basis. To put this in perspective, Pavel Buka is considered one of the cheaper players on our starting 11.
Yeah.
His transfer fee amortization alone this year would pay for 2 U22 players under the salary cap. Because a U22 player only hits at like what, 250? I want to say salary budget charge.
It's 150 or 200 depending on the age.
200. Yeah, he's $500,000 in transfer fee alone on the salary cap this year.
How many U22 players would Sergio Santos pay for?
A lot. No, I'm just saying, like, look,
I'm not 11.
I'm not defending Santos on here. What I am saying though is that if you look at FC Cincinnati's projected starting 11 for this upcoming year, every single player in the starting 11 is making above the max salary budget charge. That is really, really hard to do in MLS unless and maintain depth, unless your depth is all supplemental roster guys or all guys on the league minimum. Like,
or U22 guys.
Or U22 guys. Which you can do.
They're not making above the max.
Right. But the issue here is that, like, what success in this window is going to look like is what it has to look more like going forward if we want to have a team that can win trophies. I think that the way Albright has constructed the roster, we have a team that always is going to have a very high floor, where the basement that you can expect in terms of production is very high. But I also think the way he's building the roster has a lower ceiling because he does not and has not shown the ability yet, not saying that he won't, of finding very cheap, very high upside players where you can get, as Ken was talking about on the Discord today, like $800,000 worth of production for $80,000. And that's where this team has problems. And what success is going to look like in this window and what this is going to hopefully set up is more deals like Yamil Assad, looking for guys where you don't pay a transfer fee to bring them in, guys that you can get on a free, guys that are available as league free agents, U22 players. The solution Albright has had to roster problems has been pay transfer fees, sign big contracts. And the result of that now is that they're kind of in cap hell as a result. And they're going to need to clear more GAM because the Barreal deal, until that goes through, they're not getting enough GAM conversion even to maintain roster compliance as is, it looks like.
Yeah.
They need to get smarter and cheaper and younger with their player signings going forward.
I hear you 100%. I'll just point out that you've got, give or take, $1.7 million in budget charge in Corey Baird and Sergio Santos. And I am of the dumb opinion that their production can be matched with one Stefan Schirilla. I don't see the difference. I don't understand why Schirilla is so. If Schirilla is
he's
not
like
good enough, if he's not good enough, then we should cut him now. Because if you're telling me he's not as good as Sergio Santos or Corey Baird is right now, cut him. He has no future.
I do think that you could. I do think that if you didn't have Santos and you didn't have Baird, you could get more than their combined production by signing like Jeremy Ebobisse, who's a free agent. Kai Kamara on a league minimum.
Seattle Sounders are in
Joseph
advanced
Martinez.
talks to acquire winger Paul Areola, with Dallas eating some of his cap hit.
He's not really one, but
I'm just saying there's options.
Right. But yes, like Jeremy Ebobisse, I think makes less than Santos. And I know he had a tough year. I know he had a tough year, but he was on like one of the worst teams in MLS history.
Yes.
Like he was as good as Brandon Vasquez.
Yes.
You know,
so. It is difficult to hear the crying poor. We've got to trade 2 of our 5 center backs when we've got 2 of the most ineffective strikers of all time taking up almost $2 million in budget charge sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I mean we'll see what happens with those.
Yeah. I
am all about waiting to see what they do with the window. I am curious what they want to do with the U22 spots. Like,
yeah,
I understand that you think like, oh, we're not going to get like a starter necessarily with a U22 spot. But this is a team that doesn't have like any left wing backs right now, unless you count Orishano
or Barreal.
Right. It's a team that has no backup midfielders except for Kubo, who was your starting striker. Like, these are all things that like U22s could be signed to fit.
Yeah.
They have to sign some U22s. Like, I'm running out of patience with it. I understand the window's not open, so it's wild to be running out of patience.
It's not even Christmas.
But no. Why I'm out of
opportunities to do it for multiple windows.
What I'm out of patience for is that there needs to be a plan. Because here's the thing too.
I'm sure that. But by the way, I'm sure there's a plan.
Okay.
I love the idea that there isn't.
Right. But I mean, like, part of the problem right now is that like they've kind of been awful at signing U22s. Like, look,
yeah.
I understand the circumstances with the last one with Marco. That's tragic. That's absolutely tragic. You can't plan for that. But the U22 record of signings on this team has been abysmal.
Yeah.
And those are players where, why are we in gam hell right now? Because we can't sell the one successful U22 that we've actually signed.
Barreal.
And you need, those are players where you can pay whatever you want for a transfer fee. And when you sell them, those are GAM conversion spots. The ideal use of a U22 system should be you sign a U22 every year until you have 3. And then when you get to the 4th year, you sell the one from year 1 to make the GAM conversion, sign a new U22 and just keep that rolling on a 3-year plan. Like, that's the roster hack for MLS. Easy. Just be very successful at signing all these players, never miss, and always make money. It works in Wall Street. It works at the casino. It works when I bet on sports. Yeah, the line must always go up. But like,
just be good at betting.
Right. Just get skill issue. Right.
Yeah.
But you can't win until you start playing. And they need to maximize their U22s. I'm getting mad about it already, but I will be very upset if we don't have all 3 U22 spots filled this season.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's the issue of like, how does this all work if Lucho moves on?
Nah. Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, my assumption is that if Lucho moves on, they tag Orishano as a DP.
They have to.
And then that's it. They just move forward with Orishano and Denke as Denke.
Okay, so hold on.
As the 2 DPs. That's my assumption for what they do if Lucho moves on. At least this window.
Now hold on, but I want to clear this up. You are the only person I know that I could ask this to. Do we know for certain whether or not the language permits them to use money from selling Lucho to convert to GAM?
It does.
Great question.
Does they change that? Okay.
At least the language no longer bars you from converting DP transfer. At least the published language no longer bars you from using DP transfer fees to convert to GAM.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if they sell Lucho, they can convert a portion of his fee to GAM, which would be nice.
They can only, is it a portion of his fee or is it the up to the 3?
It's up to the 3 million.
Okay.
So it can be all from one player's fee. It can be from a combination of multiple players' fees.
Yeah. So now that's interesting because
it's just an aggregate limit.
Right.
That does bring the most interesting of all scenarios into play, and that's that Lucho is sold and Barreal is actually on this team next year.
Yeah, which
it could work.
I would see it.
It could work.
I don't want to watch it, but I would watch it just because I'd be deathly curious as to what it looks like.
So I'll tell you my big worry about the Denke signing, is that he was signed kind of thinking Lucho was going to be here. And I don't know what I've seen from Denke's highlights, that he is going to be the guy who is like bringing the ball up and creating.
Yeah.
Right. Versus being somebody who is finishing plays. Right. But I think that I know Chief is down on Orishano's passing, but between Orishano's dribbling and like Barreal serving balls in from the left, I think you can party with that.
Would you, in this imagined scenario, would that be an attacking front three, or would
Barreal would be left
wing back,
and then Orishano. I mean, I don't care where you put him in the graphic, whether you put him next to Denke or
next to
Kubo or behind Denke and Kubo.
Yeah.
It's wherever he wants to be and gets the ball.
Yeah,
is his position.
So. To sort of put a bow on this conversation, then where we stand right now before the expansion draft properly kicks off, although Tom Bogert has already
no, it's they're
has
requiring
Bogert
you to
the entire draft because I'm watching this draft live show.
Wait, did you sign up for the live stream?
I did.
No,
yeah.
That's a terrorist move, requiring people to sign up to watch an expansion draft.
It is a terrorist move.
Insane. But Tom Bogert's already leaked 3 of the 5 picks, so I don't know what we're watching for.
What are they?
You've got Toronto FC is acquiring winger Thiago Andrade. He was on loan from NYCFC to China this year. San Diego is going to draft him and trade him to Toronto. There's another one where they are acquiring player and St. Louis player and immediately trading him to DC. And I cannot quickly find the other one. But yeah, there you go. They're quickly moving some of these.
Very good job, Kevin.
Yeah.
well, detailed reporting.
Hey, I'm trying to quickly run through this man's feed.
Hold on. First they said they picked Jasper Loffelson.
Okay. Oh, we have the draft happening.
Whatever. Something Diop. I can't announce. I can't understand what these guys are saying.
Well, good. We're already off to a great start.
Hamani Diop from Charlotte.
Seems like a good pick.
Jasper Lofferson from Colorado and somebody from Orlando.
Okay.
So we're in the clear.
They should put the fucking names on the screen. Like, why do I have to understand this like Sam Hyde looking guy? It's like we're gonna take San Diego's 3 sweatiest supporters and have them mumble the names into a microphone.
I mean, is it really an expansion draft if your head coach doesn't just like blurt out a name in a panic move?
Why are they watching the expansion draft? And
this is awesome. Yeah, they're doing like NFL. Oh, he's like dapping people up right here.
Oh, thank God I get to go to a different team. I fucking hate my team. I think that might have been footage from the Super Draft, actually.
I love the idea.
It would be. I love the idea that MLS is making every player that isn't on the protected list sit at home to watch the expansion draft.
Oh, I get to move to San Diego. Thank goodness.
Yeah, they're all cheering for it. All the Toronto players are dying.
This guy looks straight out of Central Casting as a soccer hipster. He's got like the schoolboy hat.
Oh, that's Matt Doyle.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Have we had him on the show or not?
We have.
Oh, I love him then.
Always loved him.
Always rated him.
Okay, a guy named Bruce Sith from Orlando.
What?
He looks like the guy who hosts the Best Friends podcast with Dave Portnoy.
Yeah. He also looks like he should have neck tattoos.
I think they drafted Jack Harlow. I think the number 2 pick was Jack Harlow.
And again, we go live to the 3 really active. This is great. This is great radio right here. We're just watching. Yeah. We're watching the expansion draft for you.
Yeah, I did not sign up for the feed, so you'll have
somebody on Blue Sky, a hero, sent me a direct link to it, so I can watch it now.
Bless.
All right, please, Jasper Loffelson. I've heard of him.
More like Jasper Awfulson, since he's going to San Diego. Am I right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I like how his highlight is a shot to the keeper. They're like, oh, look, his highlight is a shot that is like straight to the keeper from outside the box. So what are we doing?
What a rip.
What is this?
Well, I think we're in the clear from a Cincinnati point of view. So in that sense, half-day trade window, great success.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. So Lucho as number 1, Barreal as number 2. Number 3 is what happens with U22. Number 4 has to be the striker room cannot be Kevin Denke and Kubo
Santos
and Baird and
Baird.
Santos. There needs to be something else.
I think it's going to be. Where's the money coming from?
Buying out Baird and Santos and signing a college kid.
Number one, you can only buy out one of them. And number two, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give them the grace of that, like the option automatically triggered on Santos, because that makes way more sense than just about anything else. But even if you buy out Baird, that's still only $600,000 in budget relief. You're not going to be able to do a ton with that. It's a couple of U22s, but you're not going to make a big splashy signing with that. I think they're out of splashy signings, honestly.
I don't need a splashy signing at this point. I need like a third midfielder and a striker who is actually dangerous. So I don't even need to score goals. Just be dangerous.
Okay, so the last ones were Jose Kojima traded to DC and Thiago Andrade traded to Toronto.
Boom.
And San Diego's coach.
And here comes Chris Albright with the Money in the Bank briefcase to make the last selection for San Diego.
San Diego's coach, who looks like somebody who like got kicked out of Fun right before they got famous,
Fun
said
period.
that they are using the money they got from at least one of these trades to bring in a center back who's going to start for their team. So I don't know. Maybe we're losing all of our center backs. I do think that San Diego's coach and GM look like they host a podcast where they like interview OnlyFans models about why like they're not married with kids yet.
That's my favorite genre of podcast. And there's like 47 people on the episode. Yeah, it's good. It's great audio.
1,000 guys in one day.
It's the expansion draft.
Something's expanding.
There
you go. That's the expansion draft. That's FC Cincinnati's.
Hold on. I got.
Oh, please.
I'm not gonna say who tweeted this, but I'm gonna read it. Sorry, but this might be the dumbest expansion draft since I started paying attention in 2019. I get San Diego's on the West Coast, but no reason needed to be at 10:30 p.m. and on a live stream you have to give an email address to watch. This is not a primetime event. Agreed.
No notes.
It was Laurel.
Based Laurel.
Good. That is exactly how that should have been.
Although
treated.
I will correct her. It is a primetime event in San Diego, apparently.
They put it on the local
in prime time.
The local broadcast, which
Although
I do think
real ones know prime time doesn't start till 8 o'clock.
Truth. Yeah, I don't know. There you go. Should we head on over to part 2? We've got some CCL and World Cup to talk about, and then a couple of Patreon questions and get out of here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And before we get to the next part of the episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts, as if you need me to tell you about them. Let's be real. If you are in the market for a t-shirt, dare I say, a Cincinnati-themed t-shirt, why are you looking anywhere else other than Cincy Shirts? They've got the best stuff. They've got awesome Reds, Bengals, FC Cincinnati gear. They've got all sorts of gear for your whatever you got going on. Okay. That's how big and broad it is. You've got an old timey classic amusement park that is your favorite from the Cincinnati area. I bet you they got a t-shirt about it. Did one of your old favorite franchises fold, or maybe a franchise you never got to see play fold? I bet you they've got a t-shirt for them. It's a really cool selection. I got to tell you, in store is maybe the best way to go. They will print on site. You didn't hear it from me, but you can work out some special arrangements. Say you've got a design you really like, but you want it on the back of a shirt. I bet you could talk them into it. Okay. It's a good time. It's a really, really good shop. They're good people over there. You can find them in Loveland. You can find them in Oakley Hyde Park, and you can find them in Northern Kentucky. And they print online as well. They'll ship to you anywhere. Now, here's the best part. They sell gear for the post. That's right. You want an Opie shirt? They've got that. You want a one of the 12 shirt? They got that. You want to let folks know how you feel about San Diego? Boy, there is a shirt to show people that, okay? Check them out, Cincy Shirts. When you're there, use the promo code ThePostCincy. All one word, all caps. They'll knock 10% off of the entire order. That works on post gear as well. So please do not buy our stuff at full price, okay? Use the code, knock a couple bucks off for yourself. So thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. Thank you, listener, for using the code. All right, we are back, and it's all cup competitions in part 2. FC Cincinnati was drawn into a pairing in the CCL with Honduran side. Motagawa is how I'm choosing to pronounce this. If somebody's got a better way to pronounce it, please let me know.
Motagua.
Weren't those the creatures in Gremlins?
Motaguas.
They were called something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were called Gremlins.
The Mogwais.
Yeah. Gremlins. People forget Gremlins, also a Christmas movie.
A+ movie.
Yes, fantastic.
I thought that was the main character of Jungle Book.
No, that's
Mowgli.
So there you go, Honduras in February. The first game, or at least the first round of games, is in early February. Chief, we just played MLS Cup in December. We're playing in February. How was the winter schedule treating you?
I mean, it's going to be in Honduras, you know. I mean, I'm sure the weather's nice there, I think, in February.
It probably won't be snowing. That feels like an improvement.
Many people saying the closer you go to the equator, the more temperate the climate is year round. I've heard that before from science people. Kevin, we were talking about this earlier. Honduras, where would it rank on your CONCACAF nations to visit list?
Considering that, 75% of CONCACAF is small Caribbean islands, which would all make up the first 50 places I would want to go. It's pretty low. It's pretty low on the list. Sign me up for Aruba, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti. Bahamas, Haiti. You know, as somebody who's been to Royal Caribbean's private beach in Labadee, Haiti, that tiny little slice that they paid gangs not to mess with is pretty.
You can go to Roatan and go to go to Bitcoin City. I forget what it's called.
Order a pizza for $1 billion.
If you had to pick your favorite Saint Island, would it be Saint Kitts, Saint Lucia, Saint Martin, Saint Vincent, or Saint Martin?
Saint Martin with 2 A's because I went there on my honeymoon. So
look at you right there. You CONCACAF sort you.
There are 3 Saint Martins on one Saint Martin.
Isn't it St. John? Isn't St. John's the place you want to go?
St. John's is very nice. Yes.
I thought that was in Canada.
But isn't also St. John's an island in the...
St. John's is a Virgin Island.
U.S. Virgin Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it U.S.?
I think it's U.S. Virgin Island. Yeah.
Okay.
I do enjoy a saint being named a Virgin Island. I like that a lot.
Obviously, it's like kind of table stakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, though. That's a good band. That's a band I go see.
I will not be signing up for the trip to Honduras, I don't think. My schedule does not permit.
Imagine like showing up as a Saint, and you're like, it's because of my back pain.
the saint of the perpetual aching back.
Yeah. Yeah. So
does the club offer a ticket package to Honduras?
No.
No. Okay.
But what if they did? That would be very funny. Can you like just clueless Cincinnatians visit Honduras?
I know it's going to be part of our season ticket package, but I do want to.
But you have to drive to Honduras for the game to use the ticket.
I know the home leg is going to be like automatically included, or I am pretty sure the home leg is going to be automatically included with our season ticket package.
Yeah.
And I would just like to put this out there. Can it not be?
You should be able to trade that ticket for like a voucher to the team store. Like instead of my ticket, give me $50 per seat at the team store.
Give me like, I would rather have like the next round. Yeah. A beer.
Yes. Just a beer at the next game.
It's worth one boot, not the beer in the boot. We'll give you
just
the boot.
Yeah. No, they should give you the beer for showing up at the game. Like,
there's something to be said for that one.
Like, I like to qualify for this tournament, but I'm sorry, it makes me negative or whatever. I hate that like we have to pay the same price to go see a home game against Motagua, that we pay for like regular, like it's like an amortized like regular season MLS game or like the bonus leagues cup game or whatever.
They should make that first. You should get your season ticket package should include some game throughout the year.
Yeah.
Whether that's a leagues cup game or a CCC
I'd
game.
I'd be
okay
with if all of that was just extra.
Right.
Like I'd be okay if the package was 17 games and all those games were just extra.
Well, my idea was always that you pay your season ticket to get the regular season, and then you can buy an add-on for $100. And if we get dumped out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup in round 1, and we get dumped out of Leagues Cup after the first round, your $100 only got you into 2 games or 3 games.
Yeah.
But if we keep winning, your $100 may get you into 4 games or 5 games. And so if you put the money down up front, you may win, you may lose, but either way, it's like it makes it a more reasonable proposition to attend all these games. And then you choose whether or not you're opting into these extra matches.
Yeah. I'm always frustrated that your season ticket prices is a larger complaint. But what you're paying as a season ticket holder is not necessarily the lowest price that the box office will sell a ticket for. And that to me,
right, for these bonus games because of dynamic pricing.
Yeah, that feels like a violation of the season ticket compact.
Yeah.
Yes. That like, well, then I don't need to be a season ticket holder and I'll just watch the Crew game and the Miami game from home and I come out ahead. Now you've lost me as a customer. What are you doing here?
Yeah. I do want to point out, though, that unlike the Jamaica game last year, you could drive to this game if you wanted to make a trip out of it. 3 days in a car.
If you got a bunch of FCC fans together, you could like caravan it. Like you could take a caravan of people down into Mexico, into Honduras.
What about a sleeper bus, like a tourist, like a rock tour bus, couple of bunks?
You could not gift wrap some cartel the nicest Christmas present in the entire world than a bus full of sleeping, clueless American soccer fans driving through rural Mexico, loaded up, ready to go to a soccer game.
just like 7 dads that live in I don't know.
Westchester.
I was going to say Westchester. I was trying to think of something like more specific, but like Springdale.
All right. If you did that, what do you place the odds on you actually reaching Honduras? Like what percent chance?
I think you'd reach 100%. I don't think it. I really don't.
Would
think
you still be? Would you still be in the bus though?
To be honest,
like you might get there, but like the last leg maybe in the back of a truck or something like that.
Well, as long as you drive a Dodge Caravan.
I do genuinely worry that like you will break down in a part of the country that you will not be able to get fixed up fast enough or quickly or at all.
You're fine.
No, the America's Automobile Association.
I paid for this coverage. I need somebody within 2 hours.
So you just ride in like a white Toyota Helix and you'll be fine.
That's true. That thing is indestructible.
They definitely got parts for that down in Central America. with a Gary flag on the back.
I'll say this: if you are heading to Honduras for this game, even if you don't know yet, if you decide you're heading to Honduras for this game, please reach out.
Yeah,
I am very curious about how your experience is. Not because I don't think it's going to be like good or anything.
Yeah,
I've just never been to a game in Honduras, and I want to know what it's like. Also,
this is probably violating again some sort of trust. We'll try to get you credentials.
Ooh. We will deputize you into the post.
CONCACAF is kind of a pain to work with, but yes.
Nobody who would be picking that is listening to this.
Yeah, that's true.
The people who we have to worry about who might be listening to this aren't in charge of that credential.
Right.
Maybe a sympathetic ear in this situation. We'll see who reaches out. If I can personally vouch for you, I think we're good.
Have we had this conversation on the air? Like, how hard would it be to grift our way into this tournament claiming we're influencers? Because I feel like they are desperate to try and get more eyeballs on the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And like, if we can successfully
we could get credentials for it, but I don't think anybody would pay for us to go. Is the problem.
I don't know. Do you ever see some of these people that like get this shit from FIFA organizations and get paid to go and do stuff?
This isn't FIFA.
It's CONCACAF. It's even more corrupt.
Also, but the one you're talking about was in Qatar.
But also, you don't think Honduras is looking for some good publicity too?
Yeah, but there was other money involved in Qatar.
Got Bitcoin money in Honduras.
Isn't Qatar one of the main tournament sponsors? So that they're still sort of involved.
By the way, I do want to talk about the World Cup in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, we do need to touch on this.
Right, so before we move on to that,
I want to say we are persuadable.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've always said we can be bought.
Yeah, I don't call it selling out. I call it buying in.
I call it listening.
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are we about this CONCACAF first round matchup? I'm a 0.5. Where are you guys at?
I'm excited in that it's not another MLS team, which it could have been. It's a new opponent, a new country. That's, fun. Would have been annoying to get the same team. And I know Grayson won't necessarily agree with me. I like the draw generally, the field for FCC. I'll give it a first round specifically, like a 4 out of 10, but like second and later, I'm feeling pretty good. I like it.
I'm a 4 on the first round. I do have like a pretty high floor for how little excitement I can have for an FC Cincinnati game, because no matter how often I may complain or denigrate a competition or whatever, when the game comes around, I get tingly.
Yeah, it moves.
I start to levitate a little bit.
Big Dua Lipa fan over here.
Right. But I'm very much anyway. So I'd go with 4. I'm excited for the competition. I hope that we're in a good enough state by the time we get to the second round that we can be competitive against Tigres. Because we ran the numbers on Transfer Market. Kevin Denke is the 4th most valuable player in this entire tournament. And that's behind Messi, obviously.
Yep.
Ricky Puig, who's hurt and not going to be playing.
Yep.
And Cucho, who, you know,
might not even be on Columbus
at that point. So, like, we're going to have like one of the biggest stars of the entire tournament leading the line. So there's no reason not to look forward to what they can accomplish.
Yeah.
I'm just angry that Miami got the Penn State draw in this tournament with a first round match against Sporting and then a incredible second round matchup against Cavalier FC that somehow got an automatic bye in this joke of a tournament.
They are a Caribbean powerhouse, I'll have you know.
Sure. Cool.
I think
Neat.
As of like last year when we talked about them, they had yet to win their league, or like hadn't won the league since the 70s. I'm assuming by them being in this second round, or, you know, having a bye to the second round, that they won the league recently, but I don't know that for sure. They're a funny team. That does mean likely LAFC or Columbus for Miami in the quarterfinals, for what it's worth, which could be fun. Yeah, so let's discuss the World Cup here real quick. There were 2 World Cups awarded. I don't want to say voted on, because these were sort of weird formalities that they approved these by. I assume they, I don't know, kidnapped the delegation from Norway to make sure they could go through without any issue. But the 2030 World Cup will be in primarily Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, but they are
primarily. I'm glad they narrowed it down there.
Well, because, Chief, they are playing 3 matches in one of Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina to start the tournament off, because, as all history buffs know, the first World Cup was held in 1930 in Uruguay. So there needs to be a game played in Paraguay.
History buffs, or, you know, people that watched United Passions along with the postcast during our off-season film review.
Avalanche did nothing wrong. It's funny to see Infantino come into this role as the anti-Sepp Blatter, we need to clean up this organization movement. And as far as I can tell, is more corrupt than Blatter, because say what you will about Blatter, and there is plenty to say, I do think on some teeny tiny level, he actually did have like the non-European countries' interests in mind. Like, he had no issue getting his boys paid along the way.
Sure,
but
didn't.
Like, there were some considerations and some moves and some things that he had done that actually I think were slight improvements to the game. I can't say the same about Infantino.
I mean, isn't part of it, though, that when it comes to this sort of bidding process for everything, that it feels like up until the early 2000s, you still had places that were all in on the, yes, let's host the Olympics and let's host the World Cup. And we're going to spend all sorts of public money buying stadiums and building this infrastructure. And then they would end up on a documentary 10 years later as these abandoned places with rats and things growing all over them. And so it's turned all this sort of stuff, because the Olympics are going through the same thing right now, where there just isn't, like, I saw something on Twitter earlier today about how that everyone waited in a room for Sepp Blatter to open an envelope, and that reaction of Qatar being selected for the World Cup, and all these groups looking at one another like, wait, what? Like the Americans looking at each other, what's going on here? People just don't bid for these kind of events anymore. And it turns into like they have to sort of cajole people into bidding. And what's ended up happening is like places like Qatar and Saudi Arabia have just been like, well, if nobody else wants them, we'll pay to have them.
Well, it's how they legitimize themselves, right?
Well, yeah, no,
it's
yeah,
how they like become part of like the on a respectable world or whatever.
Sports
and I
washing.
mean, like, exactly, it is sports washing. I mean, like the Qatar World Cup was like the build up to it, and the way it was done was like a human rights disaster.
Yeah.
And FIFA happily looked the other way through it, and they paid no price for it. So we're up in the ante. Like,
but also nobody bid against them. Like there was
but like anyone
could have put their name in, and I get to a certain extent money changes hands to prevent bids from happening, but anyone could have bid to say somebody different. But Saudi Arabia was quite literally, in this instance, the only country bidding to host the World Cup.
There was a bid from Australia and New Zealand that quietly went away with, as you said, I think some sponsorship money for the A-League might have come in or something and sort of cleared the road for them. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the time when it's like we just start doing World Cups exclusively in like disputed territories. Like
before Qatar, it was in Russia
occupied portions of Ukraine. like we just only do it in Taiwan after China takes it over.
Let's be real here. The 2038 World Cup is going to be hosted by Amazon. Not in the Amazon, by Amazon. Or ByteDance is going to have the TikTok World Cup, and it's going to be like privately owned stadiums for a corporation.
I do think it's like not to be naive or like on a high horse or something, but like
get us there. No.
It is like ridiculous to be doing like anything in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Although I will say, like, as again, we are open to persuasion. We're happy to be put in a situation where we can, like, learn some new facts and then go to people like, well, maybe you just need to educate yourself on some of the changes and reforms that the kingdom has embraced.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I want to be clear.
I want to go as driving for years now.
I am open to going as an influencer, not as a journalist. I do not. I want to make it very clear. I am going as an influencer to show the world the great reforms made by the kingdom. We are not there to document. We are not journalists. I would like to come home on an aircraft and not, other ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Like how they reformed Jamal Khashoggi's body. I thought that was a pretty clever reformation that they had.
Kevin,
there.
I don't understand what you're talking about because I'm keeping an open mind on what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has to say.
I just said they. All right. I'm not pointing a single finger that is still attached to my hand at anybody. Yeah. So like, I think in an ideal world, this is silly old me. The Olympics would be in Greece every year.
Yeah.
Famously not corrupt.
That's fine though.
It's like normal. It's like normal corrupt.
Everybody can just pay to like maintain the stadiums there.
Yeah, they're just a normal kind of corrupt where nobody pays their taxes.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool kind of corrupt.
That's cool corrupt.
That's just
cultural.
You just worry about yourself, man.
Mind your business, all right?
And then for the World Cup, we have our various regions of the world, and Oceania or whatever can just sit this one out. Just rotate through them and have a designated spot or designated host country. And that host country has to divide up all the proceeds with all the other countries. So there's not some great disadvantage there, but let that be, USA and Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, England, Germany, whatever. You just like run through the rest of the rest of the regions.
We're going to do 2036 in the Golan Heights.
Yeah.
Azerbaijan,
South Ossetia. We gotta have the Kashmir World Cup. That'll be a fun one.
I would be
Turkmenistan.
So I agree with basically all the criticisms about the World Cup that they had in Qatar and the World Cup that they're having in Saudi Arabia. But like, it feels a little rich that a lot of this criticism is coming from the U.S. and they're having a World Cup in the U.S. in a year and a half.
Yeah. I agree with that criticism to some extent. I think people
primarily that they're not having games in Cincinnati. That's that's it's a human rights violation.
If they were having games in Cincinnati, I wouldn't be saying this. But like the United States is like perpetually having like a, are we the baddies moment? Like every day is waking up and being like, what have we done now?
I don't disagree. I do think people should recognize the idea of degrees of badness.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
and
there's a big difference here between like we're building stadiums with bodies quite literally in the walls,
right? Although they
Jimmy
did
Hoffa's.
I was about to say they never found Jimmy Hoffa's body. No, but to quote my main man Jesus Christ in his holiday season,
that was a private enterprise, not the government. So it's so our hands are clean.
It's also New Jersey. That's just the way things are done there. Okay.
Maybe it was. We'll never know. No, but who's the blameless country that should be hosting instead? Like, if you are going to make that criticism, like
the Vatican.
Yeah, nothing.
Famously blameless.
Look up the Vatican Bank. Find it. Look at all the people whose money has gone through the Vatican Bank, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
Who's the newest country? They don't have a track record.
South Sudan. And depending on how you view Russia's recent escapades, you have South Ossetia and the new Oblast in Ukraine. Is Crimea an independent country? I don't know. So there you go. Yeah.
Bhutan. What have they ever done?
Honduras.
As before we discussed, Chief, I'm pretty sure they were the murder capital of the world for a little bit there.
I said
it wasn't their fault,
right? It's all those dead people's fault. They just stop dying, everything be all right.
Honestly, Uruguay. What has Uruguay ever done?
Honestly, that's a.
Do Uruguay and Paraguay have a rivalry? Because I feel like they should.
For who's the most guay?
Right.
Who's the guayest?
Right. That whoever named themselves first is looking at the other one being like, those mother... Whoa.
Oh, man. Just saved by the Spanish pronunciation there.
All right.
Yeah.
Would it be a felony for Uruguay to plant its flag in the middle of the field after a match with Paraguay, though?
Knowing nothing about either country, which is probably to their benefit, I assume that would start a war. So there you go. I don't think they would take that too kindly.
I need to Google Uruguay Operation Condor real fast just to make sure.
Double check.
Just to make sure. But right now I think our front runner is all World Cups in Uruguay,
which was a clubhouse leader for the 2030 World Cup right up until.
I'm sticking with Turkmenistan. North Korea for the thinking man's North Korea.
Oh, I just did it and it's bad. Uruguay, you are canceled.
Got a little blood on their hands.
Yeah.
The Falkland Islands will just host the World Cup over there.
New Zealand? New Zealand
Iceland.
Feels very like Iceland. Well, they did have that WoW Airlines they canceled. That made me really mad.
Yeah, but that's just company.
Iceland would be fine right up until a volcano erupted and canceled the whole tournament.
Even better.
New Zealand, and I'm sure there is some criticism to level here at Iceland, probably
Norway.
don't treat the native populations all that great. Norway as well, I feel like has a native
Vikings?
population
Come on.
issue.
What is Norway's native population?
There's
you said Iceland doesn't treat the native population well?
I'm just assuming. There's
Iceland
a lot of assumptions.
So first of all, there's a very famous Wikipedia screenshot or whatever that says like Iceland is like the only country with like no indigenous population.
That's really funny.
And it's like, well, doesn't that mean that the people that live there are the indigenous population?
How dare you, sir?
You know,
Viking Irish hybrids,
right?
The Vikings and their stolen Irish brides that settled there are the indigenous people of Iceland.
In Iceland, they have a book that you can use and a website you can use to look up how closely related you are to someone before you start dating them.
Yep.
I am vindicated. The Sami people, I don't know how to pronounce it. S-A-M-I. Yes, in Norway.
Yeah,
yes.
in Norway.
I was wrong about Iceland.
Yep.
That's fair.
And then in Finland, it's like the Laplanders. There's a very good movie called Cuckoo about a Laplander woman at the end of World War II who shelters I think a Russian soldier and a Finnish soldier. Finland was aligned with the Nazis because they were anti-Soviet.
Okay, so cancel Finland too for the
Finland canceled for sure.
Norway was Nazi curious, I will say.
Yeah.
Where were the Vikings from? Were they Norway?
All over the place.
All over, but Denmark, I feel like, claims them
Norway,
the most.
Sweden.
Yeah. All right, so cancel Norway for
Denmark
the Vikings.
Denmark was pretty imperialist in their day.
Greenland is a Danish colonial holding, if I remember correctly.
Be careful how you put some respect on our 51st state's name.
Wait, I thought that was Canada now. I'm so confused as to who we're colonizing these days.
There's a lot of potential 51st states. You got to keep up.
Costa Rica has no standing army.
It's true.
Costa Rica should host the World Cup.
But I think they have an agreement with the U.S. that we are their military.
They do. They have agreements that people will save them.
That feels very libertarian. I'm going to enter into a contract for my defense.
Yes, it's called the non-aggression principle, Kevin. Right. Google it.
Works right up until...
Have you read Anarchy, State, and Utopia? I have.
I'm just saying, it works great right up until the U.S. is the one that wants your bananas or something.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I also pay the police and fire levy tax.
See?
Robert Nozick. But you never heard that on a soccer podcast.
So this is an enlightening segment right here of just us revealing our gross ignorance about world politics and the geography of the world.
I think it's safe to say that they're probably...
So we're all in favor. Saudi Arabia, great choice.
Really, what we've decided is nobody's hands are clean, so it might as well actually go to the highest bidder. I think that's...
I think what you have to do is you have to assume that you didn't know what country you were from. And then what country would it be fair to give it to? Yes. Oh, whose thought experiment is this? It's Rawls. It's the veil of ignorance. That's it. Yes. There you go. I think hold the World Cup in Greece as well, because the originator of the World Cup is the Olympics. So it might as well actually just be in the same spot. Bonus, you don't have to pay your taxes. Yeah. Come on. That feels right up FIFA's alley. You get to retire at 35. My people. All right. Let's head on over to part 3 and answer some probably non-Subway related Patreon questions, and then let's get out of here. All right, we are back, and we got a couple of Patreon questions to get through. My goodness. We have quite a few here. If you did not know, you can join the Patreon for $2 a month. It gets you or more if you want. There may be a way to edit, but don't do that. Just the $2.
We're gonna add the $1 million tier to pay for our trip to Saudi Arabia, our fact-finding trip to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So it specifically requires that you have a member of the Saudi royal family's email address in order to pay for this level of the Patreon tier. Yeah, this is like the infamous iPhone app I Am Rich that cost $1,000 in the App Store when the App Store first came out, and all it was a red gem that said "I am rich" on it. It was fun. Choose rich. So we have
these questions from people that have paid. That's the perk you get when you pay. You get to ask a question. It's about the only perk that you get. You also get your name in highlighter pink on the Discord, which is a perk, I guess, or sort of a scarlet letter. Anyway, we have a question here from DeDrizzle. Speaking of Patreon tiers, DeDrizzle asks, if I were some nice patrons, bought you three the DeAndre Yedlin collab, would you guys wear them and go to a game sat right next to each other? Could be fun content.
Yes, easy, 100%.
If you buy us each a jacket, which I believe was $150 or $200 for a jacket. Yes, if we each have a jacket that is paid for by not me, I will wear it to a game with these other two guys, and we will sit right next to each other in a spot that can be seen on camera.
Yep. And one of us will have significantly more visible sock lines than the others based on how I'm guessing the clothes fit. That was cool, though. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
I don't think we did.
Pretty neat. I don't know. I've heard tell this is a first of its kind of thing.
I'm curious how that works on the salary cap.
Don't say it out loud.
Nope.
Should we just give all the players like merch deals and then reduce their salaries accordingly?
No.
Yes.
This is entrepreneurship is what this is. This has nothing to do with their salary budget charge at all. No. Perish the thought.
And to be fair, Yedlin has been in the apparel game before.
Yes.
And he and his family are extremely stylish.
Yes. This is
that
something
check is
they
always
feel
on
passionate
point.
about.
Yeah. Incredible. Honestly, they should not be in Cincinnati. It's crazy.
It is very funny, especially you run them like the cities and teams he's played for, and then how he ends up here is very funny.
Not that Cincinnati like can't be stylish. It's just like it's not necessarily our vibe.
Yeah.
The first words that you think of in Cincinnati are not fashion forward.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think they always look great.
They should do this with more players, and they should have in the new mixed use development like a boutique shop where you can go into and get really fitted out for the game. Like the poors can go to the team shop. The bougie fans can go to the boutique and look. The drip can be insane in the boutique shop.
Who sold the boutique shop its spot in the development? Well, that would be Brett Halsey's real estate company.
There we go.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, please buy us our outfit. Ian Rexra asks, I'm going to start with you, Grayson. You're feeling philosophical tonight. Why do good things happen for bad people?
Because the world is random, morality is fake, and often the things that are rewarded is bad behavior.
Because more people voted for her than the candidate that I liked.
I also think there's like a definitional issue with like good thing, like quote unquote good things, right?
Okay.
Like, yeah, you can like become, you can like advance very far, get a very powerful position. You can become very rich, but maybe you have like no personal relationships in your life that you trust.
Yeah.
Right. Because like everybody is just everything in your life is transactional. You know,
and you worry that when you're playing a primetime game on national television, your house is being burglarized because everyone knows where you live and they think
because
the
OnlyFans model that you bought is there.
Hired. Sir.
I like how they referred to her as a woman in his employ.
Yeah,
it was like his housekeeper or whatever. And they're like, no, it's this OnlyFans model. What does he pay her to do? Is he doing like a Andrew Tate situation where he's like a like running an OnlyFans like empire, or
I like to think
just
it's like
have her like on retainer.
I like to think it's like it's like a Max Bialystock situation from the producers where she's just there to be his secretary and then just, look the part.
If something else were to happen, so be it.
Right. Ula, go to work.
Hey, speaking of movies, Brock Bermel wants to know if you could buy one movie prop, what would it be? I assume this is inspired by the aforementioned Joe Burrow buying one of the Batmobiles from the Dark Knight trilogy. Which is fun. Not road legal, but did cost him, I think it was like $6 million.
I think $3 million. Yeah.
How much work would it take to get it street legal?
So like money isn't an object. I can buy whatever prop I want.
Sure. Yeah. Well, like you're talking like the tower from Die Hard. Does that get to count?
Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah.
Stately Wayne Manor. The problem is that like, okay, the Batmobile is cool, but like in order to have that, you've got to have Joe Burrow money because you got to put it in a garage somewhere. Like I can't just park the Batmobile out in front of my house. Like that would not work well.
I think it would take up the whole street too.
Yeah.
It's not a small vehicle.
No, it's definitely not fitting down my driveway. That's for certain. Your boy is a little uncomfortably close to the house next door.
Or
I'd buy the jacket that Ryan Gosling wore in Drive.
That's good.
And then just wear it under my DeAndre Yedlin FC Cincinnati jacket.
I would love to have Neo's trench coat from The Matrix. Just when I want to feel particularly edgy.
I mean, if I'm buying a coat, I want the Indiana Jones coat or the fedora. That would be pretty cool.
An Indiana Jones fedora would be a lot of fun.
But I mean, like the real answer is like, in terms of something that I can actually like have.
I've got it. Right. The Holy Grail from from Last Crusade.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna name Dial of Destiny. I'm gonna name all the other ones except for the
Great Circle.
Crystal Skull. The cup, the Holy Grail from Last Crusade, and then I would use it as my wine glass when I'm drinking at home, and people would like look at me weird and be like, "Now this truly is the cup of the King of Kings."
You look every time you pull it off the shelf, that's the cup of a carpenter.
Yeah. I mean, a crystal skull or the Ark itself would also be really good things to have in this category.
The Ark would be funny because you could just like, if you guys don't shut up, I'm gonna open it.
We're gonna see who's pure of heart here.
We're gonna see what happens.
You want to talk to God? Let's go see him together. I got nothing better to do. Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. Final answer.
Yeah, lightsaber's good. Lightsaber is also very high on the list of thing from a movie I would like to have as it operated in the movie. Like.
I would hurt myself with that. Yeah, you would hurt yourself with that.
Yes. But that's a very cool thing and idea. Let's see here. Oh, hey, we've got two questions that are very similar. Oh, and one that I just mentioned. Tim Sears asks, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
The answer's
He's only traveling because it's
yes.
Christmas. They're only all there because it's Christmas.
It's a Christmas movie in the same way that,
and he gets back together with his family.
Yeah,
all the Santa is actually a murderer.
Home Alone is a Christmas movie.
You're right.
I think, yeah.
Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Now we're getting crazy. I like this.
He gets the Mogwai as a Christmas present.
There you go. Gremlins 2, though.
Gremlins 2 is not a Christmas movie.
No, that's a wild
It's anti-capitalist.
movie.
Robert Nozick would not like that.
Well, there you go, Tim. The answer is a pretty definitive yes. Although
people forget Die Hard started as a sequel to Commando. Commando, not a Christmas movie, but John McClane, originally John Matrix, one of the most underrated action heroes.
I thought Die Hard was based on a book.
Well, the book was going to be adapted into a sequel to Commando. They were going to use the same character from Commando, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like
how Roger Rabbit was a sequel to Chinatown.
Many people are saying.
I don't know about that one. I have to look that up now.
So there's a rumor.
That was based on a book. That was based on a book too, wasn't it? Though,
right? But the movie Roger Rabbit was very different from the book Roger Rabbit. Like there is a book called like What Happened to Roger Rabbit or something like that, and the movie bears very little relationship to the book, as I understand it. I have not read the book. The story is that there was an unproduced script that was a sequel to Chinatown that they turned into what became the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, instead of like making a faithful adaptation of the book. And I could see it going either way. I will tell you that like you could see like very obvious parallels between like the plot of Roger Rabbit and Chinatown.
Maybe a back-to-back viewing is in store as the off-season wears on.
Maybe. Two of the greatest movies of all time.
Moving on. I've got to get this question in because it is time sensitive. If I ask it any other time this month.
I don't know. I have not remembered anybody who was taken in the expansion draft. So if that's a question, I'm sorry.
It is not. This is primarily, I'm going to say, for Chief and I.
Good.
But we'll see how it goes. It's from Brandon Trame. Chief,
there we go.
Who asks, the Crosstown Shootout is on 12/14. Similar to your discussion about MLS Cup. Make your case for UC or XU. Tell me, a casual sports fan, why I should care about this game / rivalry. Chief, I'll try not to be as long as Grayson. What's the pitch?
I timed it out. Chief spent more time talking than I did in that debate.
That actually doesn't surprise me.
No, I can't even fact check.
Here's my pitch for UC if you don't care. UC is a public institution right then and there. If you live in Cincinnati and are a member of the public, that is your default position there. UC is a historic college basketball power. It's been a weird, rough little road the last couple of years, been some rough coaching hires, but this year kind of sort of looks to be on the ascendancy. It's kind of a cool comeback story there for the team, and they have been rocking a lot of throwback gear. They rolled out a new 1997 throwback. They're rocking their Jumpman Air Jordans. It's a good vibe around the program right now. It's a good time. They got a good aesthetic. I like.
Who won the 1997 Crosstown Shootout?
It's literally impossible to look these things up. There's no way.
There's no way you would ever notice that they're wearing a 1997 throwback. That was a year that Xavier beat him in the Crosstown Shootout again.
It's been a pretty lopsided rivalry the last
recently.
Yes.
All right, my pitch for Xavier. UC, massive public institution. They have an economy of scale that should result in them being better at every sport imaginable than Xavier, just from a donating alumni and NIL base alone. Yet they continue to lose this game recently to Xavier. Xavier is the underdog in this rivalry, will always be the underdog in this rivalry, no matter how lopsided or how whatever the run of score, the run of games is, just due to the sheer size difference between the two. Xavier, UC can throw all the throwbacks and all the uniforms they want. The blue Running Man Musketeer uniforms are elite, probably one of the top 5 uniforms in all of college sports, football or basketball. The other reason you root for Xavier is that when you are a Xavier fan, you get access to becoming a fan of the Big East. And if you like the sport of college basketball, there is no conference that is better, more entertaining, or more historic than the Big East Conference. You will find elite programs in the ACC. You will find elite programs in the Big 12. You may find more elite programs in the Big 12 or the ACC. You will not find more historic and entertaining basketball than you will find in the Big East. There's a reason why its tournament is hosted at Madison Square Garden. It is worth being a Xavier fan just so that you can join in on the fun of being involved in Big East basketball.
Historic Big East basketball, Xavier, Creighton, Butler, all the Big East matchups you would ever want.
I don't make the rules, okay? Historic Big 12 matchups, Cincinnati, Central Florida, BYU. Yeah. Hey, yeah, let's talk history.
Never claimed the history. It's just got a lot of really good basketball programs in it, and I'm glad to be here. It's been some time out in the wilderness as a UC fan. So there you go.
Plus, once you become an X fan, there's only like, a couple thousand of us. So we all meet together at Cintas, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a fun rivalry, though, for the city. And weirdly, in the sport of college basketball, not a ton of city rivalries. There's lots of in-state rivalries and historic rivalries that cross the country or cross, regionally or whatever. Philadelphia has a handful of good programs in it, but it doesn't feel like the rivalries really reach the level that they are here in Cincinnati. It's an objectively cool sporting event, and I'm glad it is here.
Well, there's Pitt Duquesne.
A vaunted rivalry, the one that
it's
goes
basically the same.
Many people are saying.
Each one is like a perfect analog of UC and Xavier.
Honestly, the biggest win for Duquesne is somebody reading the school name and pronouncing it right on the first go. That's probably the highlight of any Duquesne. I mean,
that's like supreme lack of ball knowledge to not know how to pronounce Duquesne.
Right. Okay. Yeah, any college basketball fan is how to say Duquesne.
College basketball, sure. Maybe.
Or any learned individual in this country.
Any fan of small liberal arts colleges.
any
of some, I assume, Catholic flavor.
Yeah, right.
But that's also they also benefit from the fact that there's about 75 colleges and universities in North America that people have oh yeah, I've heard of them solely because they've appeared on an NCAA tournament line as a 15 seed at some point.
I do think that is underrated from the perspective of somebody who does not care about sports.
The Congregation of the Holy Spirit is the Catholic order, whatever.
So is that
that founded Duquesne?
If you weren't cool enough to join the Benedictines or the Franciscans, you're I see myself as more of just a spiritual person. I'm not switching to organized seminaries.
Right. It's like early day. It's like Catholic deism.
I like it. I'll wrap us up with one more just because we have so many questions. And if we don't get to them now, we'll never get to them. Yes, this will be the last one. And this is a good one. And where did it go? Addison Goring asks, what TV series?
I bet it's Goering.
Yeah,
I bet it's Goering too.
Well, okay.
Addison
Goering. What TV series? I know. Well, now the TV series is going to be The Simpsons. What TV series?
Never mind.
What
I'm not going to talk
series?
about famous Goerings right now.
Oh, geez. Would you compare to each of our 9 seasons to? And what series do you predict / hope our 10th season as a club will be like?
Jesus Christ.
Finding the TV analog to the previous 9 seasons of FC Cincinnati. So let's think about this in the abstract. Came out strong, hot. Within the first couple of years became the hotness in the country. Maybe there's an analog to move to a new network, a bigger network, bottoms out, and then really comes on strong.
If it's MLS, it's real easy. It's every Star Trek series ever made where it's unwatchable for the first couple of years, and then they hit their stride around season 3 or season 4.
So I don't think each one needs to be the same show.
Ooh, so each season as a show or even
as a season of a show.
Yeah.
So the first, the USL years are the first 3 seasons of Yellowstone.
Okay.
Where it's very compelling, very stupid and silly.
Yeah.
But this comparison falls down because your dad probably didn't watch them.
I feel like the Yellowstone crowd got into the USL years.
Yeah,
and then
before they moved downtown to Over the Rhine, where it's scary.
Yes,
and then the first 2 years in MLS were like the recent seasons of Yellowstone. No, I mean, the first 3 seasons in MLS, what would that be?
maybe the analog here is Game of Thrones, where the USL years are like, holy shit, where did this come from? I didn't know you could do this on TV. This is great. And then you get to the latter half of Game of Thrones, or at least the last few seasons. That'll be the end of the beginning of MLS, where you're like, oh yeah, this all falls off the rails. I couldn't keep going. But then like maybe the last few seasons are like some of these Game of Thrones spinoff series where you're like, there's some life in this bad boy. There's still something here.
The first years in USL are season 1 of The Wire.
Ooh.
Okay.
The first couple years in MLS
don't say it. Don't say it. Don't you dare.
Hold on.
Season 2. He's got to say season 2.
No.
Oh my God.
No, hold on.
I knew what he was going to say.
No. Hold on. It is season 2 of The Wire.
So good.
Where
Ziggy,
you don't appreciate at the time that it set up the fact that we are successful where we are right now.
That's actually a pretty good save.
When during those seasons, what was going on? We're building Mercy Health Training Complex.
Yep.
We're getting the stadium built. We're getting everything all set up for now where
Frank
we're able to recruit.
His butt's busted his ass.
Right. And so now you look back on those years and it wasn't what I wanted, but in hindsight,
it's what you needed.
It accomplished what we needed.
Yeah.
And now we're currently in seasons 3 and 4 of The Wire. And I'm desperately afraid that next season is season 5 of The
Wire. It holds up. That's actually a pretty good comparison.
I love season 2 of The Wire. I really do.
I do too. I think it explores a lot of themes that are not explored in that context.
I think season 5 of The Wire is very good.
Oh, they did McNulty so dirty in that season.
It gets ridiculous, but it's like we're bringing all of these things to a head. And the fact is that like
the fact is that
in like an absurd, like all of these are like absurd systems and structures. And they're all kind of crashing into each other.
It's aged better than a lot of television. The problem is that like I can't unknow what David Simon's background is, and just like the anger that season was written with, where it's like that felt really personal.
Yeah,
some of the stuff about the media, especially in that.
Yeah. The Wire was in the news today. Because Martin O'Malley, I think, is like trying to become chairman of the Tommy Carcetti,
sorry.
Is trying to become chair of the DNC, I think. And the New York Times was interviewing him. I don't know if the interview was today, if it was just like shared today, but somebody asked him but the interviewer asked him, well, what do you think about, with some hindsight, what do you think about The Wire's portrayal of Baltimore? And he's like, I think we're done with the interview now. And they're like, why? Because of Carcetti. And he's like, that's not me. He was like very, very put off by it. And I'm like,
yeah, don't print in the paper. I got angry.
Yeah, it is very much a don't put in the paper. I got angry. Unfortunately, it's in the paper that he got angry.
I mean, come on, man. You got to know. There you go. There you have it. Hey, lovely questions. Some really good questions from people. I think that will have to. I think that'll have to do it.
I love how we decided to do this episode late for the expansion draft kicking off at 10:30, and then like there was no news out of the expansion draft. This is the definition of a meeting that could have been an email.
Yep.
You couldn't watch it. I refuse to give them my email. I'm not.
That's right. Stay strong. They don't have your contact information from anything else at MLS.
I still get emails from Columbus like, hey, you want to buy a ticket? Like, God damn it. No.
Yeah, I'm on the mailing list for no less than 3 MLS teams right now, and it's kind of annoying.
Oh, and Louisville. That's always good too. Yeah. I love Louisville.
And one of them is in French, which is really annoying.
He came to a Montreal game. You obviously speak French.
Yeah, it's like there's no way that this person was just visiting here for one night.
Chief,
are we done here?
Kill it.
Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.